First, I'm happy about the previous presentation because it put the audience in the mindset of what I'm talking about, and the question that was asked, I will try to answer what is the difference in my talk about difference between creativity and innovation. Since we have here majority of students, I'll switch in French if you don't mind, or I continue in English. Okay. Well, I have a really an interesting topic today because I'm talking about how to build Innovator. I'm mostly talking about the work that we are doing right now about this kind of topic. The human, since they were on Earth, they try to go beyond their abilities and their limits. And presently, and nowadays, we're living in a revolution. And this revolution is due mainly to the ability of human to go beyond our cognitive abilities. And this is mainly possible today due to internet, because we can think, we can communicate with other people, we can gain information with our people, and we're extending our cognitive abilities. And this is baking an exponential production and profusion of technology and knowledge. And this technology and knowledge are now accessible to all human. And this kind of thing, or this situation, has built a new economy. We're living in a new economy with new rules. These rules, we are seeing big companies. We have Kodak, someone talked about Nortel. There is a big company that's well managed, but which finished by falling apart. And what we have now, we have a garage startup that are transforming in multi-billion businesses. And definitely, we have new era now with a new rules for economy. And every country in this earth, every nation, try to be innovator. That's the key for the future. And to do this, they have to build an innovation ecosystem. And the main part of an innovation ecosystem is the ability to produce innovators. That's the important part of this kind of strategy. The question now, how can we do that? Because it's not really an easy task. And if we look at this and we try to come up with a framework, with an approach, is to ask the fundamental question: what is an innovator? An innovator is someone who brings the value to the customers. He has to find the value, but also he has to build the product. And macroscopically, we can say that an innovator is someone who can find good problems and can solve them. Then, if we begin by that, and suppose that we are able to have this kind of, we call it innovation process or design process. If we have it, we can put the process and we'll look what is the skills that is needed for someone to work on this process. And from these skills, we can design, implement some learning tools to give these skills to the students. Then macroscopically, we have an idea how to do it and to do it the right way. Then we have three parts. First, we have to have a business process. Second, define the skills. And third, to implement and to design the learning tools. Then the work that has to be done is to work on these three parts: process, skills, and learning tools. But if we look at this problem, I address it in a linear way. And we want from this process to build innovators. But we are in the same situation like an innovator. We are in front of a problem that has the value, and we have to look for solution. And if we want to bring good solutions, we have also to be innovator. But unfortunately, we are not. And the idea now that we have to develop a process, but simultaneously, we have to use it to address the problem. Because if we do it the linear way, probably we'll get some results, but probably it will not work. It's the same process. We have a high uncertainty in this process. That's the kind of thinking to address this problem. Now I will explain the three parts, and I will begin by the innovation process. Well, human has always produced goods and products, and we have a process. You have a process, you use it in your school or in your daily life, the process that you have your idea about something, and you develop your idea in a product or solutions. Well, we know now that 90% of the products using this process did not succeed in the market. The Japanese come up with a better process. The process, which is the idea that we have to concentrate on the customer, we have to take the voice of the customer, and we have to change the voice of the customer on a product. The idea that we have to implement, because if the marketing department do the job, he will ask the customers, and he gets the inputs. But when transforming these ideas into technology, the engineers lost the customer of the voice. That's the idea behind all the processes that make Toyota, Mitsubishi, and all Japanese companies successful and famous for robustness and so on. And also the idea that the customer cannot tell us what to do. There is some, what they call innovation needs that the company has to look for. But as you know, the model of Japan now is something that's attained its limit. They probably have to reinvent something new. And the something new is the process that are bringing companies like Facebook or Google or other successful companies. And the idea that the process we have now is a process like this. The customer cannot tell you what to do. You have to look for it for yourself. And the process, in the beginning of the process, is what we call the fuzzy front end, which is completely fuzzy and completely uncertain. The moment you know less about your products, it's the day you begin your design. You don't have the information. The idea, we are switching now in the thinking. We have the conventional thinking that I talked earlier, that we're switching to a new thinking about things in design, but also in other fields. And the idea that we will begin something, we don't have the information. And we have to go for the information. We have to prototype. We have to look for information and return back and to make some iteration. You have to, even if you didn't succeed, it's not a problem, it's on a purpose. You have to do that to gain information from this and to start over. And this is the idea. And also the idea that we have a holistic thinking. That's, well, the opportunities is when they have the interaction between things. And in the conventional thinking, divide the problem, solve the sub-problems, and return to the problem. But if we do that, we're missing opportunities, and we're missing opportunities for innovation. Well, we have to understand this process. And that's push us to try to give a model for this. Not really a detailed model, but a macroscope model to understand what is a process of innovation, and from this, we'll go to what is an innovator. Each time you are taking a decision in your life, in business, or developing a product. There are three things done in each process. The first one, and you're looking for the value for someone. Each time you're taking a decision, there is something you're proposing to a customer. There is some value. But also, you're looking how to capture this value. In business, it can be money, but in your personal life, it can be fame, it can be the possibility to make a change, and so on. This is the second thing. The third thing, if you are able to do this, you have a process to determine the value. And if we call the value desirability, which is the acceptability by the customer, and the feasibility by the process, and the viability by the capture value, the innovation and the ability to innovate is the ability to manage the three: the desirability, feasibility, and viability. That's the secret for innovation. And during this process, which is a holistic process to find value, you have to look for some new ideas. That's what creativity intervene. We have to look for some new ideas. And if we have some innovator, if we have Steve Jobs, if we have Peter Thiel, if we have Elon Musk, these guys has the ability to manage the three. They have a creative, holistic thinking. And all of us don't have this ability. Probably 99% in this class has not these abilities. But the news is, these abilities can be taught and can be acquired. And probably not only innovator, but also a scientist has these abilities. Well, I said that we have to be also creative. What is creativity? Creativity that starts, you have some knowledge somewhere. And you start from some knowledge and using not analytical thinking, you're using an abductive thinking. You imagine something, you're seeing something, and this something has no relationship or causal effects between the knowledge that we know. And your thinking is going back and forth from this future and returning to your knowledge, and at the end you have an idea, and this idea will give us some new knowledge. That's what is creativity. And creativity needs some abilities like association, visualization, imaginary, and so on. And you may be surprised that this kind of thinking materializes in your brain. Each time you acquire some knowledge, this knowledge is connections between the neurons. And someone who has a holistic thinking is someone who has a lot of connection between and a lot of morphological change in his brain. And connecting the dot, that's what's holistic. It's also connected the neuron. And we have access, a really important access. This is something that is completely new, but probably in the future we will measure the ability of someone by taking probably an Ehrman cliché, and we'll see if we're able to relate the knowledge to the parts of the mind. But we are far from that. Just the beginning. Well, each one, and the connection between neurons is the result of what each one here has a personal knowledge system. And its personal knowledge system is based on three. It stands, but stands is the results also for the tools and for the experience. And the experience make also these things. And if we want to change and to build Innovator, we have to act on the two. On the tools, we have to give to the students the tools to do that, and we have to make and to design experience to let them acquire this knowledge. Then we have two axes here. We have to give them a good process of thinking, and second, tools and experiences for gaining skills related to the process. If we turn back to our education system, briefly, education system is designed many years now. It's have disciplines. We take the knowledge and we divide the disciplines. And in school, we give to the students knowledge in a specialty, and we give them a problem only in specialty. The problem, it's just an idealized problem. It's not a real problem. And then in school, the students don't gain this capability of connecting things, because the system itself, it's built on disconnecting things. And we have some results that 98% from the kindergarten became 2% creative in the adult. So we can see the impact of school. School not only prevents students from being innovator, but it's a toxic system. And it's something that schools succeed. It succeeds for building non-innovators, because it will be very difficult, someone who is in school, to give them what I talk about than someone who isn't in the school. Now the questions, how can we change that? We know now that the system has to be changed. We cannot just came and change a system. It's absolutely difficult to do, because we have a system, we have an inertia in the system, we have universities, we have schools. You can't change that. And the idea is to come up in the periphery or in the boundary of the system and to make some experiences, some learning. And if you design it well, as I talk, when you design it, you have a value for the customer, but you have the value for who design it. And who design it? Professors, administration in a school. Then, if we go to the periphery or the boundary of the system, we make some experiences that succeed, and probably it will attract the people from the inside the system. And from I don't know how much years it will take, but probably will end up with a new system. But if we want to change the system from the inside, it will be very difficult, because you'll have many resistance, because there's a lot of, as I said, inertia. And the goal is to go to a system which is centered to the learning of the students. Well, this is the concept. As application, we started from the tree. We're working on developing the process. That's what we are doing. From the process, we're trying to deduce the skills, what is the skills needed for that, but also we're adding the constraints, because we have some special constraints here in Morocco, like cost effective, like shortage of innovators in the academy, and the third is to build and design the learning environment. And to do this, we have designed a project, what we named Enjoying, for Enjoying Engineering, and we have the projects for all the curriculum. We have freshman projects for the first year. We have the junior for the second year, premier cycle. Donc, it's not like here in school, c'est premier cycle, c'est-à-dire première année après le bac. Okay, donc freshman, junior, and senior for the third year for engineering. The first project is a project that is for the first year in university. We give to students, robotic kids, and they design devices, design robotic applications. That's the project. And in this learning environment, because in the first year, students just see mathematics, electronics, all just the theory. and we want to give them the skills from the first year. And because the first year, as I said, it's more easy to change a student in first year than students in the last year. And we have a lot of skills that is acquired. For the next project, we'll introduce there is some training here for how to program and so on, but there will be some training on design thinking, and I'm trying to relate the project to the courses for the first year. The second project is a project who's intended for the second year, for the student second year, premier cycle. The project is done simultaneously with a course on dynamics, and we ask students to choose a device to perform kinematic analysis, to verify the calculation by a software, and to build the mechanical system, and finally, by using Arduino to bring all the parameters, gyroscope and so on, all the parameter acceleration and so on, and to compare what they obtain. They confront the result they obtain about what they calculate before. We'll have a lot of competencies around this project. I don't have time to talk about it. Well, this is the competition that's for this year, and we have just some examples. We have this project with 100 students, and we have almost 90 projects like this, which is difficult. But now we have 5 professors that is involved in this project, and we have a lot of very, very different kind of projects. For the last one, this is intended for engineering, and we begin by defining a process. And in this process, we have a process that we taught in a course to the students, and we give them the two parts, the fuzzy front end and the second part. In the fuzzy front end, presently we're using what we call the business model canvas, which is something that is popular in business now, because it's enable the students to think diversely in looking for a business model. That's what I'm using, but we're working on a lot of other methodologies more appropriate, because we have a lot of feedback. This is the third year now. We have a lot of feedback from students, and we're changing. And the idea that I said before, that and we're not working in a linear way. This is not the definitive project. These projects, we are seeing them just like prototypes. We're prototyping with students, we are gaining feedback, and we're returning to the concept, and we're changing all the time. Every year, these projects will change and will be changed in the future, and year after year, we'll gain in more insights and more knowledge about this kind of things. And this is the project for last year. As you can see, we have the prototyping, we have numerical prototyping. As I said in this, here we have a lot of methodologies. We have numerical prototyping, we have mechanical analysis. All this thing is using, but we given some prototyping tools. We give him mainly open hardware. We give them some robotic kits, but also open hardware like Arduino and many other open hardwares. And the students are gaining a lot of knowledge around it. And the most important knowledge they gaining is the fun, because they love working, and there is not the change from the idea that we have to suffer to gain learning. And I will conclude with we want the best way. There is best way to have a better future is to build it. But first, we have to build competent people to do just that. And that's what we are trying to do. Thank you for your attention.